Hello, it's AAA Wargaming. So here's the final battle of the Masters Open. I should note I'm recording this after the weekend of the Art of War number 4 that was just held at Bristol. It was a fantastic event. I had a great time with most of Spiky Club. But just to finish this round of battle reports off, so this is the final game of Masters, and it's a Gaps. Game number 15 for the channel, so we're nearly getting to that number 20. But this was a final game of Dawn Assault with Spoils of War against Empire of Sonstol against Luke Tranter's list. So it's quite a cool list as we'll go through later. On the face of it, because it's Spoils of War, I didn't feel confident in scoring because of my archer unit and therefore only 2 blocks of Dryads. But other than that, I wasn't feeling too bad. I think I would definitely outmaneuver them, and the fact that I have the Avatar means I'm not too bothered about any steam tanks. Going through my list, I think the key bits for this were going to be how I played the Druid and the Avatar. I've got a good mix of getting the dragon shot off by strength 4 shooting or below, especially when you add Cosmo into the mix. It's an absolute pain. The Avatar itself is going to be key to destroying the stank because otherwise I haven't really got any other way of doing it. Other than that, I was pretty confident with the Blade Dancers versus the Imperial Guard, and I just had to make sure that my Dryads were in the right spot to take an objective and just see if my archers could plink off as much as possible. He had a dragon, so the Sentinels were just going to play around to try and hit that all game. In terms of his list, so Marshal on Dragon on Imperial Prince. I was pretty worried about this just because how I faced it with Darren's list over time. Interestingly, you all had another flying character, and I was really worried about this one just flying around and knocking me out, and just had a very good thing because Winterclick gives it distracting or parry. I think distracting. It's got a high save. It's tough. It's just not, and I just think that 465 points was probably going to pin my Kestrels quite a lot, so I was going to have to be quite careful, and it was just even my small Dryad unit. Yes, I'm going to be able to challenge it out, character out, but then after that turn, it's going to be pretty ruined. So even as a scoring unit, that's quite risky for myself. The usual Cosmo Master combo, I'm just going to remind myself about. Stopped Unity of Vengeance and let Touch the Heart through on the steam tank. He's then got a hell of a lot of shooting. What is that? 60 light infantry, 20 state militia, 10 units of riders and a cannon. So the first priority for all my shooting is going to be getting that cannon away before it takes off my dragon or my avatar, and then just try and mitigate the rest of them. In terms of spells, I went with the usual one. I took Spirits of the Wood just for that big Imperial Guard block, just in case that would come up. And then Forest Embrace and just Master of Earth because there's a big piece of impassable, and he chose side. And he chose that side near it, so I was like, okay, let's take that because there's every chance I can get after his cannon with it. In terms of the Aos Spell Selection, it was very classic. He went for Ice and Fire, Touch the Heart, Unit of Vengeance, and Altered Sight. Just here, instead of taking Fireball, he took Altered Sight just to give his cannon a bit better chance of killing my units. Otherwise, I think it was pretty standard spell selection, so I was pretty happy. In terms of advantage for the matchup, I think because of the number of shooting, he has the advantage. Yes, I have the potential to get in amongst his lines, but I think if he has a spike with strength 4 shooting and I have units going forward on my own, then it's going to be pretty dodgy. So I think with the Kestrels, I was going to have to make sure they're on a flank and coordinate and limit the amount of models that can actually shoot at me. So what happened here, he chose the top right with the impassable that I talked about in the magic phase, the field, the wall, and the hill. On this side, which I was pretty happy with, I had this big. It was a bit annoying having this impassable here because I'd have to go round to get to the spoil there. I also had the hill, and then I had something else like ruins over here. But so you can see 3 spoils here, and I chose to drop for first just because of the cannon, because I was like, I'm going to need to really use my monsters, and therefore I need to take out the cannon to actually go. So what I did was I thought he might go on this side and put the cannon in the back here, so just give myself some space. Heath Hunters, Briar Maidens, Archers, just so I could corner him, because if he goes over here, there's quite a lot of terrain that I can actually use to cover, so this is where he's going to want to create his shooting arc, I thought. In the centre, I've then got the Blade Dance that I wanted on the hill, so I could, or the forest, so I could move in between. I wanted to sort of have a bit of a trap here, so I was going to put, I've got a cover here, but if I want to, I can put the tree father, the avatar up here, move the blade dancers out to here to block this off, and I have my dryads that can either, this one can either move in for the central one, or if necessary, the smaller one can draw whilst they protect. And I've just got the kestrels over here just to give myself a bit of flexibility and to protect my scoring units, just so I can pick up that spoil. And then the dragon is quite central, just one, so I can use this hill for cover if my shooting doesn't really kill off the cannon well, and so I can do the use the cover of the hill as well, so I can also affect all my whole army. He's got his sort of lesser hero on the griffin, as I suspected that this way, with a unit of militia. He's got his 3 units of light infantry here, just so he can cover the objectives and just cause my damage. He's then got 2, oh sorry, their unit of writers. So there is other unit of light infantry, there is militia. He's got 1 unit of writers there and another one behind there just to protect them so we can use them late game. And these, their intention was to vanguard out and just try and shoot as my smaller unit came towards this objective. Otherwise, he's got his dragon in the center for leadership bubble. I asked him about this later in the game why he put it there, and he just said because he needs that leadership bubble for the rest of his army, which I understand. I know I've spoken with Darren Williamson about it, so I just think it's one of the problems why have a flying character like this out here rather than the Imperial Prince, and then have another character in the center for leadership bubble that's just there for leadership. Stick him in the Imperial Guard, especially with the Crown of Autocracy at the moment. And then he's got a steam tank in there that's just going to run up the center and cause problems and hopefully take some wounds off the avatar. So my turn 1, I was pretty aggressive on this side. I wanted to make sure I could get as much spells off on the cannon as possible. I used my avatar up here just so I could either go left and threaten in this direction and or move up into his soft underbelly and push them back. I moved the kestrels up here. He laid me a bit of a spot here, so there's nothing in this area here. So I moved my kestrels over to here. He can't do any damage about it here, so it gives me some really good spots here, and it just means I can push his entire line back and away and leave these two. They have a choice of either supporting the center or coming out this way. And I think he'll choose to support the center, which gives me free reign with the spoil over here. I've then moved the dryads up a bit slower, so I can either go left or right as planned, and the blade dancers into center to hold. This is the bit I got wrong. This, I should have just kept it out of the way. I didn't need to push yet with the dragon. It's primarily there as a wizarding thing. But I just put too much trust in my shooting, and I failed to get the last wound off there. So I've had this cannon with 4 shoots and a steam tank right in front of me and my dragon there. So this was going to be an interesting turn 1. I also put Feeding Waters on that guy, even though he had a 5+ ages, rather than put it on here, which was also another mistake I made. So note to self, think about who's going to shoot at your dragon next turn. But anyway, Empire Standstill turn 1. So we started, as I said, by moving this guy back in here to have a look at the kestrel. He's also sent these guys out here because it's quite a long charge, but also just to protect, to have a go at the dryads, see if we can shoot them off. But overall, I'm pretty happy that I've fixed this griffin looking in the center here just to make sure he can protect his back lines. His militia have come over the side, but between movement, hard target 1 and soft cover of this unit, I'm not really that bothered. He's just forming his battle line and using Imperial Guard to zone the center, whilst he's moving his steam tank away straight ahead. As you can see, he's made sure he can hit my dragon with both cannons, because this is a prime opportunity for him to go and shoot at it. Otherwise, he's lined himself up to take these 2 off primarily. So in terms of magic, this is what happens. He gets what's it called? Ice and Fire, and it was the one that doesn't like Aegis save. So I lose 4 of them. I'm left with the champion, and he runs away. I think he'd have got shot off anyway, but as you can see here, he's gone that way. So I probably didn't need to risk this. I probably should have taken 2 turns and kept out, but I constantly forget that their shooting is actually really good at short range, especially when they start doing orders, because they can give multiple orders of the same type. And he had a really good setup to do that. So it's quite a static army, I think. But yeah, but it does suit this way quite well where I have to go and get them. In terms of shooting, I got so lucky. He only did 2 wounds. I think he hit with 1 cannon, did the 2 wounds, and I was like, okay, I don't think he's going to kill him off because it's D3+1 now. and he either failed to wound. I think he failed to wound. So survived, and I was going to lose that lesson. So I was like, yep, that's not going to happen again. So run away. Plus, I'm probably going to shoot the cannon off next turn, so I'm pretty happy with that. In terms of shooting, he's taken off a few of the two of the sentinels, and he's only taken off one of the Dryads there. So I'm pretty happy with going for the objective, but I think I'm probably going to have to charge him to get him away. Here as well, he's removed my Heath Hunters and 6 shots of the archers. So I'm pretty scared. I've lost most of my chaff and my shooting. I've still got to kill that cannon, probably, hopefully, for the sentinels. Those 6 sentinels can turn up. But yeah, it's pretty brutal actually. My archers can't take to both units of them. I mean, it's lost 6 to 1. So when you start adding altered sight in, because I'm going to have to let that one through to stop with the buffs on the steam tank, it's going to be pretty bad over here, and I've got some thinking to do. So in terms of this side, I sort of backed up and tried to just rally these guys and just give them a bit of an option here, just try and keep them away from the objective. In terms of the avatar, instead of going, I thought about going this way, but I just thought, no, I've got to push into this and stop this, otherwise it will really wreck my blade dancers, and then he just comes out with the Imperial Guard. I did check, they were great weapons this time. I have used the Sentinels up here, and they've made sure they can take off the steam tank. And otherwise, just for your awareness on the left, I charged with the Dryads on this side. They stood and shot, and they got down to about 3. And then I charged with these guys, and he fled them off in this direction. I managed to catch them with the Dryads, with the small unit of Dryads, and turn around to face back towards the objective. So they're going to march back and take that, and now that's a really good position. We're now having I move the Kestrel over to here, so I don't need to come back and try and threaten these ones. The Dryads, although they failed to charge, can start moving in this direction, and I can just keep these 2 fixed here by just threatening this centre, because he has no way of dealing with, and he's got to come out and get me. He can't, therefore I'm pretty confident with getting an objective on that side. And as you can see, I've moved the dragon back to here just to keep him protected, but I'm pretty confident that's going to take an option and charge in there. Cool. In terms of magic, I do a Summer's Growth up on these guys to bring back 3 of them. I don't think I had. Yeah, I did have Oaken thrown off, and I brought back one of the Sentinels before they took off the cannon. So yeah, I'm in a pretty strong position at this moment. I've got an objective, I think, in maybe not this. I'll get on it on turn 3, and I'll take it away in turn 4. I've got into the back line with the Kestrels, and they're holding them, and I think the steam tank and the Avatar are about to go for a showdown. Yep, that was that. Taking off the tank. Right, his ear stone. So yes, he charges the tank in the center into the Avatar. So that was pretty expected. It's quite nice because it frees up my blade dancers. I get a charge of charging them if I want to. Otherwise, he's just moved them around here. He's just trying to face my Kestrels, but between him moving and soft cover and hard target, I'm pretty happy with that. Otherwise, he's kept pretty stable, and yeah. So he's just lining himself off to shoot at my archers and Briar Maidens again, and the Sentinels. So overall, not a major change. I do stop Unity and Divergence because that's my big spell that I didn't want him to let through at this point in time. It's also, I'm quite glad he didn't take Perception Strength, because those Strength 8 impact hits would be quite bad. This is the other bit, yeah. So shooting lined up. He managed to take off a Kestrel and a wound, but that was a lot of shooting with some buffs. I think he got altered sight off, and then he had 2+1 to hit on these. So he took off the Briar Maidens, and now he's running and will running on half points next turn. So that's my champion there. So I'm probably going to lose that magic, but it's done his business. Got the cannon off, so I'm pretty happy. And then the archers, another 5 have gone off. So there, I've decided they passed the panic, which is good, but I've got to make a decision that they're off now. So they're out of the game until I can get a Summer's Growth on them. In terms of combat, I do quite a few wounds to him and take none in return, even though he's got a Strength 7 impact hit. So I'm pretty happy with that. As you can see, there's quite a lot of this of wounds. I think I did about 4 on that turn. So I was thinking I was going to get ahead of this, but not quite as happy. Yeah, so I was pretty happy that hopefully I could potentially kill him in not my turn, but at least his turn. In terms of my turn, I've brought the Kestrels back round to here, and this is just to bring them back out of that shooting range, but also to threaten. So if anyone come over the hill to have a go at these, I'm going to have a go at them. In terms of Dryades, I push them forward just in case this one comes out into this area, so I can give them a rank charge and run them off, because I think if the Kestrels fluff, they're probably in trouble with that one. The Blade Dancer just stay here, zoning this area and just supporting the Avatar. He did some funky stuff with his movement around here, and it just meant that I couldn't actually get a flank charge or something. It was the way it was. And other than that, I've just started trying to pick off units here, but I think the Sentinels had stopped doing that. Otherwise, I got Summer's Growth on the Archers, so they're back by another 7 or something. So that's really good. So I can turn them around next turn and start going back into the fight and threatening that objective. In terms of combat, that's apologies, that's at the end of this. So I must have done a couple of wounds last turn, but he's down to 4 and I've still got 5 wounds left. So I'm pretty happy with that, and he's looking a lot weaker. So in terms of this time, he's come forward quite lightly. So he's formed a battle line again. He's bringing his Imperial Guard into the centre. You see he's kept his mage within range, so it can start affecting my Blade Dancers and Sentinels, but also have an effect on the Stang, which is going to be key. He's moved his militia up on the left here, and that's just to see if he can take off my small unit of Dryades that are sitting on the objective and just about to walk off. It's quite a good move, because if he gets shot well, and then I have to use my large Dryades out of the way to get there, and therefore he's the one who's only got scoring units to go and take out these objectives. It also forces me to have a go with the Kestrels or Dryades here, but I was going to probably do the Kestrels and then have the Dryades affect the centre, but maybe that was the wrong way around, because you've got this big threat back here. On the plus side, it has brought his threat back here, so just in case the Kestrels decide to jump over at the same time and block into this area, it just means that he's not coming out, and it means I've definitely secured this objective as long as they don't get shot off next turn. In the centre, I was still pretty confident with his combat. I had 5 wounds, and I was hoping to take them off. He's probably going to have an extra wound left, so he's probably going to have 3 wounds, I think, by the end of this. It just means that I can bet you hopefully win of Unity and Divergence, but I'm feeling pretty strong. In terms of shooting, he's done 4 wounds to the Sentinel. Oh, sorry, Magic done 4 wounds to the Sentinels, but he's only done 1 wound to the Dryades here, so I'm pretty happy with that, and they're fearless, so that's me got that objective. And now, as you can see here, that militia unit is probably dead. I thought he'd flee, which is why I didn't use the Dryades, because then they'd be stuck on this, but actually I used the Kestrels, but you can see he's just lined them up on this side. In terms of this, he then uses the rest of his shooting to take off the Sentinel unit, so I've lost that sort of range damage, so I'm at his mercy at the moment on this side. In combat though, I miss my turn 4, so what I do is I charge on the left, I charge the Kestrels in and the militia, and I kill them off. In terms of this side, I've over his turn do a lot of wounds to him, but I don't manage to kill him, which is annoying, so I'm stuck in combat, and then I kill him on my turn, but he's done enough damage. I've only got 2 wounds left, and we'd sort of moved back up the hill with our reforms. It was quite funny, but it does mean I've only got 2 wounds left, and I'm facing down a big army, so that's the end of my turn 4, and now he's going to push forward to try and get that objective. And you can see here, so what he does is he charges the I have my Kestrels up here after the militia. He trapped me, they didn't flee, and then he charged this, so I decided to flee because of faint flight, but it took me through this impassable terrain, which is failing on 1, 2 and 3, and I lost all but 2 of that unit, which is not good, so I'm down quite a bit. Otherwise, you can see my Dryades are facing into the centre to start threatening this, so hopefully I can draw the Imperial Guard on between my units and take them out. As you can see, he's sort of preparing to start moving around this way. He's sort of sacrificed. He's only going to take this objective. This is fine. He doesn't push forward on this side just because of the threat of my monsters. So hopefully, because that's where they'd have gone, and I've let these 2 just try and time up here and hopefully get some work. In terms of turn 5, what I've done is then I pushed quite hard. I realised I did some maths in my head. I think I could get a 10-10 even if I lost 2 of these units. What I wasn't expecting, I thought the Avatar would be... My thought was he would have to charge the Avatar, and he'd charge with both. And then he'd charge onto the Blade Dancers, and I could hold because of the magic and everything else. What I didn't do was I left this on a hill so this could charge in from flank, and the Imperial Guard, I gave them an avenue there, and actually I shouldn't have done that. On better news, I rallied the Kestrels and moved them up behind here, which is also a stupid move because if you charge there and you can then potentially overrun. So that was not great. I think it put this down to tiredness. I haven't done this very well. I've moved the archers up here. They're just going to start picking more of these guys off, as you can see, just to continue damaging them. But I should have played this completely differently, actually, and yeah, gone for something different. So I think actually what I should have done was left the blade dancers on the objective this turn, so he couldn't pick it up, threw magic at them, and then set up the counter charges properly with the blade dancers and the tree father, because then I think they can hold a charge from there as long as they're in a forest for one turn. Now I had 2 forest spells, and then I counter attack with the world, so I didn't need to do this. I think is the end of the result. Okay, because then I think I would have trapped him and got a big win. So this was pretty bad this turn. So as you can see here, he charged past me into the Dryads, so they're as good as dead, and he managed to get his hero in as well. What he did on this side was he just uses magic and shooting to take off the lowest 2 wounds, pushing his dragon out to the side. But I wasn't too worried about that, because even with a breath weapon and everything else, I think with healing waters up on these guys, they were going to survive and do fine. Healing waters is probably about the only good thing I did last turn, because it did mean that his magic just did nothing to me, so I was pretty happy with that. So this is what I was talking about earlier. So you can see here that I've just absolutely ruined it. The Dryads eventually got killed. I've done nothing, so I've got a front charge from Imperial Guard. That's probably bad enough, but then a flank charge from there just kept taking the models off. And as you can see here, they'd have overrun this way and just taken out the Kestrels, I think. So I didn't play this one very well. But this was the last turn of the game, which was quite lucky. We'd played quite a long one, so I had the objective, but he definitely scored more points than I did. And here's the final scores. So you can see he's managed to get the Avatar and the Dryads, and he got a half score for the Dryads as well, with the Heath Hunters, the Briars, and the Sylvan Sentinels. So sort of my more chaffy users, apart from the Avatar, so that was a big loss at the end, and I probably didn't need to risk it. So I probably should have left them on the hill, and that's it. And the Dryads themselves, I should have just left out of charge range. So I reckon I lost about 990 points that I just didn't need to. The blade dancers are pretty tough, especially with the 3+ Aegis. It was just such a stupid move, and there was potential counter charges in there. In terms of mine, it's lucky I killed the steam tank, because it got me into that points range. Otherwise, I didn't kill that much of his army. I just couldn't get to it because I was concentrating so much on the objective, which, thanks to the small unit of giants, I won. So I managed to get a 10-10 and finish on 49 over the tournament, which I'm really happy about. But more than that, so I call it's about half points. But more important than that, that's me and David. So David will get a special mention last round for those who've been following Art of War. He got best army with his Asklanders. I thoroughly recommend having a look at it. But between us, he got best unit for his ID, and I got best monster. So after game 4, they put a note on the first day. They took a load of pictures of random, like, best unit, best monster, best single model, and I think Jordan's wife voted on it. Apparently she is an excellent painter. So yeah, no, very happy that my dragon got voted for. I just feel a bit chuffed. So yeah, that was very good. It was a nice way to finish, and that's us just celebrating for the Spiky Club before driving home. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll go for Art of War next. Have a good day.